Happy Memorial Day, and I want to take this 1 minute here to let's recognize the men and women that are in our military service, some that gave all and then all that gave some. Let's give them just a minute to say thank you. You don't have to say it out loud, just say it internally to all our brothers and sisters out there that are allowing us to do things like this. Mm-hmm. Okay, so welcome back to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Why is it What's in My Drawers? Because old club makers and club hitters like me, it's about what's in my drawers in the shop. And today we are actually going to go in there and look in one. So we're going to actually look in my drawers. How about that? Also, this is going to be a really good one. We really held back for Memorial Day. If you guys haven't seen the mini driver video that I put out, you really should because it is very informative. The other part of it is that we are going to talk. I revisited. My driver swing came back, and we're going to see the results of that. So we have a lot of information to throw out. So let's do the intro. Okay, we're back. So again, happy Memorial Day. Hopefully you guys are celebrating to the fullest you possibly can, but responsibly. Responsibly. So we'll get this thing started right away. Charlie, we've switched up today. These are slushies, although this is the end of it. It's less slushy and more liquidy. And I'm going to show you that here in a second because I recommend these things highly. Holy cow. Hopefully they do mail out. So what we're going to do first is that we did do some, contrary to popular belief, I actually did do some club work this week. And the first one is, we called it the Wedge Weekend at McGolf. And that was a Ping 45. We built a new Mizuno S3. I think it was an S1, T1. And then we built a Strixon ZX4. And the funny part was every last one of these things was over length. Two of them were a half of an inch over and the other one was an inch over. So that was something to be said. And then for another customer, I believe he's in Pennsylvania, we put in this new AD, the graphite AD for him. And it's not a pink grip. It is a red grip. And we put it into a Cobra. And he sent me the head. And I had to take a Ping adapter off. No, I didn't. That was a brand new one. He sent me a Cobra. But the thing with Cobras is that they have this, their ferrule is still on the inside. So you have to cut off a shoulder to make it work. So we got that done. And then for that same individual, reshafted another set of 923s and with some Nippon 850s and put some blue. You can see the blue star sidewinders on there. And then he sent a whole bag of BB&F ferrules and told us just to pick out the color. Me being the color goober that I am, Mr. McGolf threw out there and picked up a really nice set. So they worked out very, very well. And then you get to see more of the wedges that we had. And probably that's a better color. That's a more of a true to life red. All right. So the other part here is the other part. What did we cook? I know that I'm going to get asked that question. What did we cook? So for yesterday, we did kebabs. We did kebabs for Bob because it's Bob's birthday. So it was Bob's Kebabs Day. And as you can see, I don't put them on a skewer. We put them in a pan and let them all marinate and stir them all up together. Throw a little bit of barbecue sauce and stir them all up together some more. And then we just pour them on a plate and let people pick off what they want. That way you don't have to, everybody getting their hands dirty, that kind of thing. So we did that. And today we just finished up with Bob and Penny. Some of those. And what I did is I used 2 different kinds of barbecue sauce to see which one people would like. And we figured out a clear winner. They're both winners. They weren't bad. It was just one better than the other. That's all that was. And then getting back to this, and Charlie, I'm going to show you this. These are, you can make them in your freezer slushies. And that's what they're from, the Huber Winery or Starlight Distillery. And they sell this bag, and you basically put the bottle of wine, fill it up with water, put it in there, shake it all up, let it get cold to the point where it gets slushy, and then you kind of mix it around, and it does exactly that. The best part about this thing is it'll last a year. At least that's what they say. So you can drink it, freeze it, drink it, freeze it, drink it, freeze it, drink it, freeze it. And this is the bourbon one. It tastes like iced tea and lemon in it. So it's kind of an iced tea, a hot day kind of drink. Just has bourbon in it. So if you ever look at it, Starlight Distillery, a Huber Winery, and there you go. So that's our thing. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do a couple of things. Number one, we're going to just go right into the clip before we go to what's in my drawers, and we come back and start answering questions. If you see, we got a new bit of a StreamYard. StreamYard has started with a new feature where you can see what people are asking right here in the bottom corner. So if you guys wanted to see what other people were saying, you can see it. All right, so here we go. The first thing we're going to do is, again, if you guys saw my video on the mini driver, you'll see that it actually worked very, very, very well. And it did, and it does. And it's a very nice driver. But it was an unfair comparison to the regular driver because my swing was just so bad. And after 2 days of hitting golf balls off and on all day for 2 days, I finally got some level of form back to the point where I was fine in the middle of the club face, and it makes for a much better comparison. So this is what I'm going to show this one to you so you guys can make your own informed decisions. So let's go. So here's what we got is we got 13 shots. We're going to eliminate 3 of these shots. So according this one, and that one are all the ones that are going to go in order to have a 10-shot package. We got that one. There we go. And that's the really long one. I want to keep that in there just to talk about it. One more. That one. All right, so here's 10 shots. The last one I hit, I jumped on a little bit just to see if it was even in me, and sure enough, I got out to 252, which was unique, but it's a matter of getting trained in order to swing faster, right? So again, we're going to go to the split screen look, and this is what it's going to look like. So there's shot 10 over here. Matter of fact, we're just going to shoot all shots. There we go. So I'm finding my way. So what's the whole point here? Number point is this is mini driver versus driver Rev 2. And like I said in the video before, it's not real fair to adjust or compare to that other driver because the swing was just pathetic. Well, after a day or two of trying it out and figuring out my swing and not being afraid, now all of a sudden, as you can see, look at this. I'm just finding the middle of the club face as well as possible, and not too bad, right? So what we're seeing is a much better pattern. That's what we're seeing is a much better pattern. So if we look at that one and then we look at all the shots here and all the shots there, that looks like just an absolute mess, but you know what? I'm hitting a driver and it's the first one out, so we're going to take that. So let's go back to the data table. There we go. If we look at our 10, now if we look at our 10 here, the average is 222, 233 with a low of appears to be about 214. That was a missed shot. And that's probably going to be the low 224. So 225 is a miss all the way up to 252. That just goes to show you how bad I have to work on this, or how much I have to work on this. So 222, 223, but I was actually hitting the driver very, very well with an average swing speed of 95. So if we can go back, and we're going to go back again. Okay, now we're back to the mini driver, and as we got our 10 shots on our mini driver, it did the same thing, 225, 234. So the mini driver actually ends up being a little bit longer. If we go back to this and we see the layout, albeit the pattern is very much tighter. So again, still throwing props to the mini driver. It did exactly what it said, be more of a fairway finder, and honestly, you don't lose any until the point where you're actually gaining a little bit. So what was happening here is I was swinging it a little bit faster, but not hitting as well. So there's the trade-off, right? So I wish I could put both of those on top of each other, but so that's what we're looking at. So what I might do is just try and cut a screen off, and maybe we'll see if we can do that. Anyway, so if we layer them up, they're pretty close to one another, just a matter of what you like looking down upon. In this particular instance, the mini driver was a little bit further, and it was also a lot straighter. So let's go back and let's have a good conversation on what's in my drawers golf talk.
Okay.
Okay, so what we saw was the mini driver still outperformed the regular driver, but again, we're getting closer and closer and closer, and it speaks volumes to two things. Number one is, having a decent swing is important, right? And again, that still finds its way to, if you have a good fitting, you make a good swing, you have a good result. Particularly the last one, that very last swing was very enlightening to me, because I just thought, well, how about if I give a little bit more effort? And sure enough, I gave a little more effort. Swing speed went up 3 or 4 miles per hour, and the result was significantly more. And it was a good smash factor. So a lot of good things happen with the driver. However, we go back, and it was 7 versus just the 10. If I were to take out another 3, which let's just take the shortest ones, the delta would have been wider. But even so, with the 10 versus the 7, you ended up with a club that was, we'll say, just right at a half a yard longer, but was still significantly closer together. And that's one of the selling points of that shorter driver, is that it keeps you in the fairway. And if they say, well, you're going to sacrifice distance because it's a shorter club, because that's one of the myths. Oh, I cut my club down and hit it shorter. Absolutely not. If you hit, as you saw, I was actually swinging faster with that, but not hitting it as well. I slowed down with the driver, but I hit it significantly better, like to a tune of 0.07 better. And that's a big jump when you're talking about a logarithmic thing. So what am I trying to say here is, don't count out the mini driver. Is definitely worth checking into. Okay. So now, before we get back here, I know Robin's been talking to a lot of you guys, but now what I want to do is I want to getting into what's in my drawers. Ha, 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 ha. Right? How about that? What's in my drawers golf talk. So I'm going to get onto another camera here, and we're going to walk to the drawer, and then we're going to talk about it. But the way that this works as far as microphones and things like that, it might squeal for just a second. It's only temporary. So let's get rolling. I'm going to put you into the add to the stage. We're actually going to make this one bigger. Oh, no, I want to do that. We're going to make this one. Nope, I'll figure out this one here in a minute. Here we go. And then there we go. Hey, I see Mrs. McGolf's legs. Because you're walking everything. Okay, we got that going.
Oh, gosh.
We got that going. There you go.
You don't want my bruises.
Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can get out of this thing. Here we go. It might echo. Let's close the door behind you. There we go. All righty, so we're in the drawer. Maybe just a little bit echo, but not too bad. So we're going to get into this particular drawer here. My God. Hold on, I'll be right back. How can it possibly be?
You hear him?
We're going to turn off the mic over here. Probably that one. Did it stop echoing?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I had to turn off another mic. Okay, so we're into the drawer. So, make a shout out, make sure you can still hear me. What this is the first drawer. As you can see, I've got a big set of drawers, and it's 2 pullouts, which we'll do another day, because that'll be a whole hour's worth of discussion. And then what we're going to do is the top drawer. This one I get into quite a bit. Now, I haven't looked in this drawer other than this morning. What this is, just a piece of material I used to use as a protector for right up here. Matter of fact, what I use it for is actually over here on my it goes underneath my Acu ruler, right? It's the same stuff that goes underneath here. So what I'm saving it for is I can cut this in half and I can use it in case that one wears out. All right, another piece here is, this is interesting, is the if you're ever interested in vibration reduction, these are the inserts that go into the to the back of the golf clubs. We did this for Charlie, as a matter of fact, and we have the, hey, I always get to keep the instructions somewhere in here. I'm hoping I find the tool. We're going through that. Another important piece is extensions, right? We can talk about extensions all day, and it's just an easy way to fix a golf club. If you find one that you find one that's too short, or you find that you need one to be lengthened. And we have different, as you can tell, we go through various sizes because shafts are different lengths or a different kind. So if you have, some are we'll say the soft butt, and those tend to be bigger, so you need different sizes. So we have this kind of a size. We have multiple sizes of these things, and I'm telling you, we go through these quite a bit. Now, again, what I like is like material for like material. We go steel for steel and the plastic for graphite. And I got something interesting for you because we found it looking in it. So now what they used to have is you just had oversized and you had regular. And if one didn't fit and the other one was a little bit tight, you just sanded down the edges here and you made them go in. Well, now at GolfWorks, they have one that's a little more precise, where you literally shouldn't have to. They come in decimal points where you can get and do that. Now, is it necessary for that? No. You could still get the bigger one and still sand them down, because if you look, these guys are pretty substantial right here. They're pretty thick, so you could sand some of that stuff down and still be okay as far as strength goes. Okay. Here's another one of those things. That's a good idea. All right, so I got a faceplate. The last bit of my tape, this is what I use to hold the ferrules on, and we keep those there. Here's the piece that, from a big butt extension, this is what you call a big butt extension. This thing is a monster, and from those guys, if they were a black or a gold and silver, it had a monster big butt, and it was I can't remember the name of it. It was actually a pretty nice little club. And we would put these into it. There were also some of the old TaylorMades. This is probably bigger than some of the old bubble shafted TaylorMades, but for some of those but this was an 865. So if this was from here to here with 865 on the inside of your shaft, this would be what you used. So that, you want to talk about antique. That's the reason why club makers are tremendous pack rats. All right. And then I've had other club makers give me extensions from what they prefer. Here's some unique stuff. These are from the BGT putter shafts. What they were is, when you make a BGT putter shaft, for those of us that can do it, what these were if you notice, they're different sizes. So if you had an over the hosel or in the hosel kind of setup, this would actually go into the graphite piece, and it would hold on like that, and then you'd have that decorative stuff so it wouldn't look bad, right? And that's what you wanted from that. And what they do is they would send them to you in a set, and so you had to pick out what you wanted. A couple extra things in here. Oh, look at that! I need that. Huh. I got tons and tons of earplugs. I can't. My last testing I did, I showed a level of loss of hearing, right, particularly in Mrs. McGolf's speaking pattern. I don't know if it was this or that. However, we did that one, and Another one here. I know I've told you guys once before I did this. The MaxFly Australian blade. The MaxFly Australian blade was a practice tool for me. And what I did was, this one's actually, here's how I got them. I got them like this, and they look like that, and they're all pretty much a whole bunch of irons. See where this is where it held on, where they were making their forging. That's where it would hold on to, and it would look like that. Then after a little bit and a little bit of shaping, it would tend to look like that. And then after a little bit more polishing and a little bit of creativity, it would look like that. And you do that about 20, 30 times, and you actually start to get pretty good. And so this was a sand wedge, and I really I like this shape. It's a little rough into the hosel. That's the reason why I kept it. But it's a really nice club, to be sure. Here's an old Club Connect. This is the old Club Connect. It's a very, very solid piece. It's just very, very heavy. All right, a couple more, and then we'll call it quits. Look at that. There's an old pen and paper. Way more of the big fat ones. Oh, here's some. This was from the. This was a button from the. Heck, I can't remember what it was from. But what this is this is there's a accelerometer and another item that talks. And what you do is you put it at the end of your golf club, and it would swing back and forth.
Achiever or Smart Swing?
No, Bio somebody. It's actually a neat little setup. It's just that it ran out. This one's been so out of date it wouldn't even charge up or work anymore. So here's that one.
Thank you.
I got one. They teamed up with Wilson here as of late to help pick out golf clubs. And then some of my older golf clubs. Here's some old. These are old demo clubs from using, and some torques. Never have enough torques. What we got back in here? Look at that. The big butts are always they're in fashion now. And then very long 7/8 drill bit. I'm sure I need that somewhere along the way. And drill bits galore. Honestly, when you're in this particular business, if you don't have any drill bits, you're not doing it right. And we'll take those out. It's amazing what you'll find. I got some extra tools in there. So that was pretty neat. Last bit, and we'll move on. Buffing wheels. So when I talk to you about buffing wheels, these are called stitched buffing wheels. As you can see, they're stitching all the way around. And what you would do then, you notice how thin these are. Obviously, you don't want something like this. Now, if you're doing knife making, you probably only want it about so wide. But if you're working on a golf club, you have to pile them up, squeeze them together to get something like that, as opposed to, can you swing it over here?
I'm sorry, I was reading.
Let me swing it over here, and this is an unstitched buffing wheel, and that's for stuff that is softer. Alrighty, so we have something like that for it. And honestly, the easy stuff is you can use the 4-bar buffing compound, but I've used the white and the black on this one already.
How old is that?
This thing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm not even sure how old this one is. This one's easily about 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's what we got. Now I got the associated club heads that are from either demos that I was going to keep in order to weld these things together. In order to weld them together to make some sort of tree on them. That one I want to keep up for. And then this was a switch I was going to use for here, but we found out it just wasn't big enough or sturdy enough, so that's got to stay. And then, hey, look at that. Now, this one's been used. Reamers, you can't get enough in the reamers. This is that's a used reamer, so that's probably no good anymore. And look, here's another one of those things. I know what these are for. I'm going to leave that one in. All right, so you get to see it. And look, an old Wilson golf ball.
It's called Golf Achiever.
Duo.
It just came to me.
What is that?
Golf Achiever, your first.
No, yeah, the Golf Achiever. No, that wasn't for them though.
But
right in the same time period. Found it. The tool to put the
put the the vibration reduction in there. All right, so that's what's, the whole talk here. What is it? Extensions, safety for your earplugs, extensions for your shafts. As you can tell, if you're going to do this for real, you got to have a bunch of them, because there's a point where you just can't put enough tape on it to make it work. So having the right ones is extraordinarily important, even for these ridiculous size. This is going to be a riot. This is going to be one of those things. Hey, you would happen to have one of these things? Yeah, it cost me 50 cents. So it's going to cost you 5. And and then keeping spares. So that's the beginning of this one. That one's probably not the most. It's probably not the most, we'll say, star-lit one, where, oh my God, look how interesting that is. But I'm here to tell you, the next two underneath, they really, really are. So let's go back and start talking and answering questions. All right. All righty. So I'm going to remove this one from the stream. Yep. Let's see. I'm going to remove that. Yep. There we go. I'm going to remove him altogether. Yep. Merry Christmas. It just won't die. There, I got rid of it. All righty. So we're back. So hopefully that happens. So now we can get to the very top. I know we've been asking for it. Matt says he shot a 75 on a very tough golf course in his area. Happy Memorial Day. They gave the full measure devotion to freedom. What'd you cook today? Well, you saw that one. It was we had the Rectex all fired up. In fact, as part of Memorial Day, I cleaned them all out. That in itself was a real task. Had to clean out and vacuum out in the whole 9 yards. Yeah, while Mrs. McGolf was mowing. And then I got done with that, and then I had to go help her mow. Charlie says 75 is really good on a tough course. I'd say 75 would be good anywhere. Charlie says 80, 83, and 78 today. Well done. And he's talking. I'm going to catch up here really fast. Jesse saying hello. What's in the glass today? I don't know if she said it, but she was into the slushies today too, bud. And she almost tore one bag out. That's so tasty. Fire up the grill. You better believe I did. Charlie Robinson, Bob and Penny made wine bourbon slushies. Now I'm taking a break with Diet Dr. Pepper. Says Charlie, nice to win again with the buddies. So they even had a rougher day of it. That's good to know. No way you caught a fish that big. I'm glad that you saw that, Jesse. Good. And no, I wouldn't be cooking a fish on a grill like that. Sounds like you had fun. Bourbon slushies. What do they have in them besides bourbon? Okay. That's the one that got away. No doubt. It's packaged at time from Starlight. We talked about that one. Bourbon and water. And that one, yeah, it was just bourbon and water. John Terry says, greetings from Myrtle Beach. Many drivers. I have the original one, the Big Bertha 11 from the early 90s. My adjustable weights are lead tape. I'm telling you what, that's not far from the truth. As far as trying one, I did one for a guy that had an old Titleist, but it was an 8-degree club, and I was like, oh my God, 8 degrees. I mean, getting it off the deck is going to be hard enough, but he said he was a long drive guy, so we'll see. The one I got, now I've got an 11 degree. Now I will say the difference here, and John, is that although the 11 degree original Big Bertha is a neat little trick, that since then and now, the technology, the leap in technology is it's 100-fold now. This mini driver is literally, this is a driver. It's just smaller. It has the same areas for weights. It has the same technologies. It's just a smaller club. So it's pretty cool. Wine or water. Rob, do you run ice through a blender, slush it up, and then add the bourbon? The answer to that is no. You just let all the water and everything slush it up, and you're good to go. remember when the standard loft of the driver was 9 back when they had persimmon. 11 and 12 and 13, right? The a two wood was around 14. So yeah, 13 and 14. No, it's a package mix. There we go. I'm catching up. Max O'Connor, indeed, and thank you. Well, you're more than welcome, sir. Barry Hill's here. Have a great day. What a great day to celebrate. And we owe a lot to our vets. And I think we do, right? I'm not going to get political about this. As a vet myself and a submariner, and we've gone places that a lot of people don't know about, as most submariners have. But there's other people that have had, they've been out there and been in some pretty turbulent stuff. And I think that we could do probably a better job of supporting those folks. I was one of the lucky ones that came back, and I was, as Abby normal as I could possibly be. And that's good, right? So let's take and a lot of folks back in the day, they probably didn't know what we knew now. So that's a good thing. Look in your drawers. Oh yeah, no doubt. We're getting down there. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you for your service. What do you consider the best method for testing lie angle? Travis K. Well, Travis, I'm going to be in the minority. I like using the lie board. They say lie boards lie. I say those people that say they lie don't know. And so what I mean by a lie board is I have a plastic lie board that's literally 1/8 of an inch thick. All right. So that 1/8 of an inch isn't going to change the lie on this particular way that you hit the club, right? And let's face it, if you're saying, well, I'm going to do a lie angle test on a 6-iron or a 5-iron, well, it's not nearly as important as it is on a wedge. And in fact, here, Robin handed it to me. This one's mine. You see, it's been used for a bit. It's not very thick. And this is what I use. Now, if you wanted to use one and be super duper proper, what I would suggest is literally go get you a piece of plywood and spray some green on it, something that's contrasting to the silver in the hitting area, and just hit off the thing. And that way it's even Steven with the lie angle. Now, Fiberbuilt at one time put a lie board in the mat, and I thought, well, that could be really useful. And I just decided not to get it because I didn't think the change was that big. And they say, well, it's about how you're hitting on the ball. I don't know about that. That's just another way of getting to the same spot. It's been extraordinarily reliable for me. I've used it for years, and I'm fully confident in what it gives me. Frank Wanzi, Bowser from Cleveland, Tennessee. Well, thank you. We're going to Tennessee next month. We're going to go see Elvis in Memphis, hopefully grab some barbecue, and even pick up something maybe at Old Dominic and the other, I think it's Blue Run. So that could be fun. Hello from Myrtle Beach, 78, 77, 75. Holy cow, Peter, that's awesome. There's Dave from Michigan. All the guys are in here today. We just need our friends from across the pond now. We got the whole family in. Charlie, nice round. They were nice rounds. Those things are freaking awesome. All right, Memorial Day, Mr. Three Putt. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you for service, and I'm enjoying the show. Well, you are more than welcome, and thank you very much. As we get there, I want to also say don't forget to like and subscribe now that we're halfway into this thing. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Put that down across the bottom. Tell your friends. Let's get some more people looking at this as we get going. My ability to make thumbnails is very poor, so that we're doing that. Also, I'm going to give myself a self-serving shout out in that if you guys ever get into Instagram, and I've got a placeholder out there for Pars and Pours. All right, a golf-centric bourbon channel is basically what it's going to be. And if you get to Instagram, just look up Pars and Pours, and you should find me out there. The YouTube channel is coming very shortly. I need to work on one more thing, and then we'll be throwing content out on that. And that should be fairly interesting because somewhere along the lines, it's going to combine McGolf and that channel because I want to get out and play with these people and talk to them about golf equipment. So it's kind of a trade-off. I talk golf, they talk bourbon, everybody learns a little something. All righty. Peter says, today was a day I remember my Uncle Dominic, who lost his life during World War II. He was a technical sergeant as part of the 101st Airborne during the Battle of the Bulge. Well, that's saying something. Very well done. Well, Barry Hill already got in there. Well done. Thank you, sir. Do you know if you can put a Callaway Elite 460 driver head on a mini driver shaft? Are the hosels the same? You know what? That is a hell of a question. Hold on a minute. I believe the answer is yes, Matt. Let's find out. Well, I got mine right here. I never considered myself a guy that liked a small driver head. I liked more symmetry and proportion. So the bigger head does not disrupt me, and it's because a lot of it's that flat black, right? And I think you should be fine. If I'm looking at this looks like a standard OptiFit. So my initial thing would be, yeah, it should. I could take off the other one and try and put it on here, but I've done enough of these that I am pretty damn confident that you're going to be able to switch them over. So yeah. So if you wanted, that was another one for you guys that like the smaller driver heads but want a longer driver. This could also do that. Which also leads me back to the what's in my drawers segment part of this, in that if you got yourself a mini driver and you want it to be a little bit longer, let's just not say 45 and a half, but let's say 44 and a half. You can take one of those extenders that I had out there, extend it, take the grip off, extend it, make it a 44 and a half inch driver. It'll be probably about a D7, D8, depending on what you get. And there you go. So you got to keep in mind that mini driver is actually heavier, right? In order to make up, because it's for the stiff shaft, 10 grams heavier than the other one. So let's say it runs around D2, D3 at 43 inches, and the other one runs at D2 at 45 and a half. That's a significant amount of head weight. So if you made it longer, it's going to feel heavier. So you got to keep that in mind as well. All right. Hello, Matt. Hello, Matt. Hello, Matt. Rasmus Olsen. He's from Sweden. He's in here. Can you hear? How did I
didn't know that.
Oh.
I'll make sure they can hear.
All of them, can you hear? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Miss, how is the weather your way? That's a good question. Sounds great. All righty. Barry Carroll, any tips on how to remove a stuck head on a Ping 433 wood that has never been adjusted since I bought it? I most certainly do. I just did one. What was the guy's name that visited us from Columbus?
Oh, Jared
Jared?
Jones. Mm-hmm.
So Jared came down, wanted me to switch a tip, and we were talking, and it was a tailor-made tip, and it had all this verdigris. If you look again, I did another video on the verdigris and what it makes it tight in there. The two golf clubs that do that the most is TaylorMade and Ping. There's something about when either moisture or the fertilizer or something gets into that space somehow, and it turns that black area into white. However, what you can do is, I thought I was going to sneeze there for a second. Here it comes.
Ah, there he is.
Always have one. All right, so what you do is you take your torque wrench, loosen it up, and don't loosen it up all the way. Loosen it up about halfway, right? So it's only sticking out about that much so that you got room to move it. And what you do is you hold this in there. Hold on a minute. We'll do this. Hush. All right. So if you get in here and you remove this and you get it opened, right? Stick it back in there. I think that'll hold on. Stick it back in there. Hold on to this and this, and get you a rubber mallet or a soft hammer. That's what I like using. And then hold it up in the air. So you might actually just hold it like this. Hold it against yourself, and just hit it. And what you're doing is you're taking that screw and you're pushing down on that. And you don't want to hit it real hard because it's only aluminum. Right? And you give it a good couple of whacks and it really should break loose. Okay? It really should break loose. Now, if it's giving you even more trouble, if it's giving you even more trouble, loosen that bad boy all the way up and squirt some WD-40 down in there, and then go back and do it again, and it should break loose pretty good. All right, Rasmus is back on, saying hello to Charlie. There's Krister. He's back. Thank you, sir. Any tips on how not to break down after 7 holes in competition? Well, I was just talking about this to another golfer, in that there's a sports psychologist that is he's been published, and he's very, very good at what he does. And he has this: golf is not a game of perfect. And that's one of the beginning books that he has. Now there's a kit of them, the kit of 3 or even 4 now, and it talks about different subject matter. And they're very small books. They're about this wide. They're not but more than that tall, and they're very, very short reads in order to keep yourself focused on there. And he actually addresses that. And the idea of is the minute that you think that there's a couple of things in mindsets of professionals, is that whenever a professional hits a bad shot, they automatically assume that the course owes them one. So they're going around knowing full well, thank you, they're going around full well that somewhere along the rest of this golf course, they're going to get one back, right? Apologize for that. And the other one is staying in the moment. That you don't look up. Even if you see the scoreboard, what does your score matter if you've got to hit a good draw or a good driver, or you've got to hit a decent pitch or make a putt? Staying in the moment. Don't worry about what the next shot's going to be. You got to stay in the first shot. That's hard, right? That's hard for those of us that don't play often, because our minds will wander quite a bit, and that one is the very first one. But look up Golf is Not a Game of Perfect, Krister, and then see if you can't get you some of those books. Any new clubs this week? Inquiring minds want to know. Yes, a touch quieter than the beginning. Okay. Consumo, have you used the Venice White shaft for your fittings yet? I cannot say that I have, sir. It sounds massively beefy. Knowing what Fujikura does. They've already got the black, they got the red, and they got the blue. I can only imagine what the white does. Holy cow. Oh, yeah, you do. You can't go anywhere with a roll of tape. Just be surprised it wasn't EB, EB red or green. Because I got some EB silver behind the tools that you were seeing. That was pretty cool. My dog Rex, we're only getting one drawer. Okay.
One drawer.
One drawer. Yes.
We'd be here all night.
Finally threw something away. No kidding. And I wish I could remember, because it's on the back of the Wilson one too. I was one of the first guys. That was one of the very first discs from that company. And I tried to get them to do stuff from more of a fitting perspective and less of a swing perspective. And we just couldn't.
It wasn't called Smart Swing?
No, gotta keep coming. The goes for this. It has bio in the name, I think. All right, thank you, Matt. There we go. I'm sure he'll send it to you if you want it. Yeah, no, you don't want that one, dude. Okay, so Krister got himself a new center shafted putter, McGregor. Okay. Oh, this is going way back. Have you got a McGregor designed by Bobby Grace? A good putter is a necessity. Yes, it does. You are absolutely correct. Yep. Temperature is 57 to 68. Well, you guys are in shorts out there then, aren't you? That happens a lot out here. My sister lives in Wisconsin, which is a much cooler climate. And, and then living in Iowa is the same thing. The minute it started getting above 50 degrees, the kids were in shorts. Not for me, but when they were 60, then the tank top started showing up. Mark Helene, what would be a better on a utility club in an iron shaft or a hybrid shaft? What would be better in a utility club? Iron shaft or a hybrid shaft? Yeah. So the utility club, what we're talking about is, I'm trying to think if I got one over there. No, the utility head. I think I've got one over there. One of those driving iron type things. Honestly, Mark, I would think that is from a driving iron perspective. We're talking about a utility club. I'm going to assume that you're talking about a utility. That's it. A utility iron that is very something like this. It's very, you see how it's very wide. This is a 3. This is the Strixon ZX mainframe. This is a driving iron. If you're talking about something like this, then the iron for sure. It's very much in line with the irons themselves. And so you could trim it or not trim it as needed in order to get what you're looking for. Now, if you're talking about something that is not necessarily hybrid, but it's almost a hybrided body with a very wide sole, that's when I start looking at hybrid shafts. And of course, if you have the hybrid, then yeah, for sure. That's what I was thinking. I was surprised he threw anything away. Look at her go. Any ideas on Luber might surface rust from steel shafts? Golf course plays hell on golf clubs. Yeah, so light surface rust. What I typically use is you got one of two choices. And you very probably understand this one. The SOS pad. It's a very light steel. If you had to give it a gauge, it's probably 4 zeros, but it has that soap that's embedded into it, and it doesn't take a lot of effort. It really doesn't to get rid of that, and that would get rid of that. Now, the real trick here is once you've done that and you've got it clean and dry, put a coat of wax on it. Back in the day when you had chrome bumpers, that number one, it made them shine really cool. But honestly, it was a level of protectant to help it from getting all rusty. So you could do something like that. Now, another way of doing it, but I'm not sure how cruddy it would make your bag, is I've heard people put, again, WD-40 on it, and then just a light coating and then wipe it off. And that would get you where you needed to go. But I'm not a fan of putting that in my bag. There we go. Hello. Robin's all over it here. Bang, bang, bang. Here we go. I am looking for a gentleman. Which one is my best friend? Which one is my best friend? Well, Jesse, so they have, from a Callaway point of view, they have two. They have the 11 degree and then they got a 13.5. The idea here is the 13.5 is for the slower swing speeds, and the idea to help them get the ball up in the air. Has a regular flex shaft that's just ever so slightly lighter and a little more flexible than the 11 degree model, which comes with a 60 degree stiff shaft. So at 70 years old, I would probably take the 13 and go with the regular flex, unless you wanted something more. I'm sure you could get an A flex in it. And then if you had to get a little bit higher, it can go to +2. If you need to knock it down a little bit, it goes to a -1 in the adjustments. And I don't see that being a bad thing at all. Rasmus is hello. Let's see. Metal yellow first, red. Metal yellow first, red. Okay. There's Paul. How you doing? No league tonight. Well, good for you. I'm glad you took the time to come see us. Max Wired. Here we are again. Michael from La Crosse, Wisconsin. Happy Memorial Day and thanks for your service. You are more than welcome, sir. Just rewatched your personal set build video. Any anticipation of my first ever custom build of Wilson?
Heads will be here then.
So Mr. McGolf said the heads will be here tomorrow. So we will be building them this week. Oh, there we go. Answer before your birthday.
Yeah.
There's Jared. Hey, there he is. Good evening, Jim and Robin. Great meeting you on Friday afternoon. Glad to hear the slushies were a hit. I got to use the Pars and Pours flight plank last night with some old ECP bottles. Nice. Nice. Well, keep that in mind, buddy. Don't forget to find us on the Instagram and then shortly on the YouTube, as my dad would say. Nice meeting you. Yeah, and the slushies were good, Jared. I'm telling you what, just like we were talking, there's a trip back to Starlight Distilleries in our future. This stuff was just too easy to put together. And if you had a regular slushy machine, no need of putting the refrigerator, you could just keep going with it.
Yeah.
All righty. So Krister's got one. He's got a 44-inch one, but he likes that longer club. Sonic Sega, I have a hard time hitting the Strixon Z-Star VX far, but can do it straight. But I bombed the soft field long and straight. Would a Z-Star fix the problem, or is a Q-Star a better option? If you're hitting the soft field very, very long, and you were wanting to, let's say, get to a different style of ball that was, let's just say, a tick better, I would go with the Q-Star. Now, they have a Q-Star and a Q-Star Tour. I would go with the Tour. All right, it's just a better built ball. And price for, let's just face it, price for performance, it can hang tough with the Z-Star as well. So I would go with the Q-Star for sure. There you go. And again, if you're always bombing the soft fields and it's going straight and far, then there's nothing wrong with staying with the soft fields either. You know, if you're coming up and you're hitting that club square with a slide up angle, you can get away with some of these softer golf balls and get away with it. What we're seeing is guys like me who chop wood, I can't hit those things because I spin the living daylights out of them. It goes up and falls and it just comes straight back down out of the sky. So yeah, you can't do something like that. And there you go. You're more than welcome. Other than personal preference, what are the pros and cons of a center shafted putter? Well, so center shafted, number one, pros and cons. I'll give you a con first. That in a lot of the setups, except for maybe the Lab or these new Zero Torques, the center shaft went straight down right behind the face, and it got straight in the way of an alignment marker of any variety. You're looking down at the shaft, and it totally takes over your entire visual. Even if it had a big long sight line behind it, it was really, really hard to line that up. The other one is that if you were the slightest tweak, if you had nervous hands, the slightest tweak was magnified. All right. Because if it was heel mounted, it would take longer for that to get there. Whereas you just cut off half that distance and it could be, you could be very much to the right or the left of your target quickly. Now the pros of it, if you don't have the twitching muscles or whatever, and you can get through it, it's a very reliable putter. Okay. It's a very reliable putter. Now, if you can get some alignment stuff where because in these zero torques, they put the shaft maybe a half an inch or so behind it, which just gives you just enough there where they put those lines on it, enough to be able to, square up your face in order to get through that. And that's the positive of that. And that's what I like about it. Now, the other part of it is that I like is if you really wanted to play around with it, if you're just messing around with your buddies, it is the one putter that you could use side saddle, and it would be you'd win out every time. Great advice. Works like a charm with a few taps. Well, there we go. Look at that. I'm glad to hit it. Look at that. We made it all the way to the bottom with 5 minutes to spare. Look at that. Miss McGolf, she can't stand it. She wants to get back to her slushies. So again, we'll just do a bit of a recap. Number one, mini drivers are not bad. They're actually very good. I think that I hope that's not a biorhythm of popularity and it's just another option for people to, another people to do that. Now, the other part that I mentioned in the video was that these mini drivers are like the perfect setup for juniors. Right, it's the right length in a lot of cases. You can get the right, and 60 grams is not a lot if they're in that tweener stage. If they're 10, 11 years old, you can get them the regular flex, and they might even be able to just choke down until they grow up because they're going to spurt up until it's time for them to graduate into the regular driver, and it's just a logical progression at a cost that's literally $150 less than a regular driver. So as a mom and a dad, that's actually a very, very good thing. The thing with the Sonic is actually the thing. Anyway, so what you get in there is the other part is when we get into my drawers there, that extensions. All right, a couple of things with extensions. You always try to use like for like. So steel for steel, the plastic or graphite for graphite, in order for them, because steel. In the steel, they have little flares at the end that insert, and they can turn into a saw. And we don't want them to do that, so it can cut through. Will it do it right away? No, but eventually what you're asking for is shaft failure. The other part of that is don't think that you're going to extend it 4 inches and it's going to work, because what will happen is that you got 4 inches, and basically what you're doing is you're just now waggling it, and you're just waiting for the day that it fails. So I like only going 1 inch to 1.5 inches mostly. Now, if you're a very smooth swinger, maybe a little bit more. And if it's for a putter, then yeah, I can see going a little bit longer. Particularly if it's a steel extension, I would go a little bit longer on that. And don't be afraid. And then the other one is we had the vibration reduction pieces that they have to ask Charlie, but he says they do work, so I'm going to go with that. And if you're going to do this as far as doing it for outside of just doing it for friends and family, don't be afraid to buy a handful of each one of those, because I'm sure what will come to is that somebody will bring in something for you to extend, and you don't want to wait a week. You want to be able to turn that stuff around and then order it and wait for the next person to show up. And that's what that would do. Also, as you've seen, apparently I need to clean out some more of these drawers in order to get some of the older stuff out of there, like those heads and whatnot. The last bit of it is in order to get good at what you got to do, you got to practice, and hence that grinding and stuff like that with those. And I was just lucky enough to fall into those Australian blades. I mean, what better club head to test yourself on? Holy cow. I mean, that was just a really good one. And then there's Charlie talking to it. And then the last bit of it here is Sonic wants to know, is golfers are always joking about hitting houses and windows, but what if you actually do? If you hit one but don't get caught, should you own up to it or scram? Well, personally, I'd say own it, because typically what I've heard in the past is you can always use there's insurances. And it depends if you hit it and you don't break anything, I guess nobody's the wiser. But if you go and you smash a window, that's problematic, right? If you did that, you need to, it would be, in my opinion, it's an integrity thing. And once you give up your integrity, you can't ever get it back. That's what I tell the people that work for me. And I would do that. Or if nothing else, if they're not, let's say they're not home, leave a note, right? Leave a note at the clubhouse so that they can take care of that. Or blame your buddy. There, there you go. You can also do that. The last bit of this is I want to say happy Memorial Day. Happy, and if you guys have served, which I know Peter and Charlie certainly have, thank you guys for your service. Also, for all those others that I haven't recognized, thank you again. And again, let's remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice so that we can have the liberties that we've enjoyed our entire lives, right? And we need to thank those that are out there doing it right now for us so that we can enjoy the liberties that we fought for when we were in. Again, thank you so very much. We will be putting out a video now that my driver swing is coming back. It's driver testing hour now. So again, and a shameless plug, don't forget to find out Pars and Pours. Join me over there. It's very laid back, just like it is here, and enjoy it. And we sit to here, look at that. They're all about it. Charlie, thank you so very much. Guys, again, thank you so very much. We'll see you next Monday. And as always, let's see your scores go low.